Hello, my name is Peter Martin, and this is my friend Adam Manis. You're listening to the jazzy, fabulous, and fantastic reclusant podcast called You'll Hear It.
This is suspicious.
Why?
It doesn't seem as...
Does not compute.
First of all, I'm not going to believe it's ChatGPT if you're putting on a robot voice, Peter. I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to You'll Hear It, ChatGPT.
I love
AI has taken over jazz commentary.
Music and technological advice coming at you. I love how we... it's like Hal. It's like Hal meets Louis Armstrong here. You remember Hal?
Yeah, I do. From 2001, Space Odyssey, yeah.
Yeah, our technological prowess is stuck in the year 2001, I think.
Well, yes. Well, we've been getting into ChatGPT. You've been going all in on ChatGPT.
Well, there's no all in. It's just you either sign up for an account and ask it a question, or you're scared to do that.
So just to be
there's
clear,
two different types of people. Neither is right and neither is wrong.
I was correct, right? That's not ChatGPT.
That was not. No, I was doing a joke because last introduction was. It's funny because a lot of people. Okay, so if you guys didn't hear was it the last episode or maybe two ago?
Yeah,
recent episode. I did an extended intro, cold open as we call it in the business, but it was a warm open because it was actually written. This is the podcasting business.
Sure.
Welcome to the pod. Much love, fam. So, no, I did an extended intro that was derived. It wasn't derived. It was provided by ChatGPT 3, which is actually, it's ChatGPT 4 now. So it's even better. I should have gotten a new version. But basically, I asked it for an introduction to our podcast. And it gave a pretty good...
Yeah.
I mean, we improvised it. So that was one advantage that we have over it. But that was just a little joke what I just did. But if you want to go back and listen to the previous episode, you can hear the whole ChatGPT provided intro.
I feel like eventually this podcast is just going to be all AI provided commentary.
We should do that. We should do an episode where we do... No, we have it provide everything. The back and forth and the banter and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Next episode.
No,
seriously. We'll get on it. Okay.
Tune in for that. What are we talking about today?
Well, today we're talking about...
Because this is not going to be AI generated. This is going to be human generated.
This will be definitely human generated. And what we're talking about today, I don't think will ever be able to fully be recreated by AI. Because we're going to talk about inspiration, sort of some incredible inspiration from what I think is one of the most inspirational musicians of our generation. And this might be a little weird for you, Peter, because you know this person personally. You've played with them a bunch. But for me, when I think about, inspiring musicians like Wayne Shorter, who we just lost a couple weeks ago, this person comes to mind in that same level of inspiration for me, in which every time I hear them and I see them play, I leave inspired to play and to be freer and more engaged with, the internal voice of music that I have, right? Some people, you watch them play or you listen to them play and you leave either feeling like, oh man, I really got to shed because I'm not good enough to hang with this person, or I really have to I really want to work on that stuff, or I want to be the exact opposite of that because it was whatever. But this person, every time I hear them and see them live, I leave feeling inspired, enriched, ready to play. Like I want to jump in there and just do what they're doing. And that's a very rare musician. This is the handful of people that I feel like that about. And so today we're just going to sort of indulge in the inspiring playing of the great Brian Blade.
Harry Styles. Oh, sorry.
Harry Styles is inspiring in his own way. But Brian Blade.
Yeah, Brian Blade.
And it had to be a drummer. I don't know why we can't have some pianists up in here like this, but...
No. It's interesting hearing that was very informative, the way you just described Brian, and I wrote down the word inclusivity, which is kind of a little bit of a catchphrase and a buzzword now. But I think that I've never thought about it like that, but his playing, his music, certainly the Fellowship Band that he's fronted for many years that we're going to listen to a little bit today, I think has there's a lot of amazing things happening. We'll talk about the musical things, and Brian is an amazing drummer and composer. But I think there's a level of inclusivity to his music on And it's manifested on many different layers in his drumming. And I can say from playing with him a lot, especially during kind of our formative years, I think we're the exact same age. I know we're both born in 1970. And so I got a chance to play with Brian a lot from like early 20s to mid 20s, late 20s and beyond. But especially during that period, I can say that he always had that spirit in terms of as a rhythm section playing of inclusivity that I think, we say that all great rhythm section players have that, but it's to varying degrees. And by the inclusivity in that case, I mean that he's very giving, but he's also very welcoming into what he's doing. And so like there's that energy kind of transference. And I think what you're talking about is at another level that's maybe even more important in terms of inclusivity to the creative process and the sharing of creativity. You mentioned like you being more inspired to go do music, not even necessarily like him, I don't think, but your own thing. So there's like inspiration, but in order to get to that, there's an inclusivity to one's playing. There's not like a fence around Brian's playing. Physically, the way he looks when he plays, I realized, because people would always be like, oh my God, he looks like, people would describe the joy they have in watching him play. And I was always like, is that the way he looks or the way he sounds? I don't know, just because I played with him so much during that period, I was just like, it's just Brian, it sounds, he's incredible. And I knew all the musical nuances and the fun things and the way that it would inspire me to be able to play in the moment. But I never totally got all the different levels. When you're real close to something, sometimes you don't understand it till you get back and then you look at it, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. But I think that inviting in terms of like how he plays a cymbal, how he sets up an arrangement, how he had this band for so many years play these extended pieces with these different sections and these ebbs and flows, but there was I don't know, I just think the inclusivity of what he does and how, even to the point of like different styles.
That's exactly right.
He's very inclusive of like many things on the drums, and then a lot of different kinds of instruments and styles. It's not just like, oh, he can play like Max Roach and the New Orleans drummers and Elvin Jones. Like you can hear those influences for sure. Yeah. And I know the stuff he listened to, but his listening was always very eclectic and inclusive, very informed, very nuanced. And so, his technique is amazing, his musicality. So it's not surprising because he's got this open-mindedness, but also this fastidiousness about the drums and about like how a cymbal sounds, and like how the cymbal is like set up on, like he's very specific, but in a way to get a sound that he wants to get that does invite people in, I think.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned open, because he's open to sort of all possibilities, and he's engaged with the sound that he's making. He's engaged with the members of the band that he's playing with whomever that is, and he's engaged with the audience, and he's also engaged with all of the music that he's obviously ingested. And for me, that's one of the most inspiring things. Peter, like, I'm the kind of musician that I like to sort of walk in the cracks between genres, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I have always not struggled with, but there's always been a question of like, I can play straight ahead, and I get a lot of work playing straight ahead. Should I be playing more straight ahead? Should I be playing less? And he seems to just go seamlessly in and out, and there is no idea of a should, or I'm this kind of drummer, I'm that kind of drummer. He's playing guitar with Norah Jones. He's like, playing with all these, Joni Mitchell and all these pop and country artists and things like that. And then he'll play like, with his band, The Fellowship, which is sort of genreless and unclassifiable, with Charles Lloyd. And then he'll be in Wayne Shorter's band doing that stuff. He'll play
for 20 plus years.
For 20 plus years, he'll play with Joshua Redman doing some sort of groove stuff. I saw him play with you and Chris Thomas a couple years ago at the Bistro here, doing your trio stuff, sort of revisiting some of that stuff from your youth. A lot of straight ahead stuff, and that he's just crushing on.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that to me is one of the most inspiring things. He's so comfortable with himself. He weaves it seamlessly. Like there's no separation between him as a person, him as an artist, drums, other instruments, straight ahead music, pop music, anything like that, groove, anything. It seems like it's just seamless, and it's really inspiring. Like that makes me want to go reach for that kind of awareness, for that kind of intensity.
For sure.
That kind of openness, that kind of commitment to being open and accepting of everything that's coming in and out.
Yeah, and thinking back to it now, Brian was always like, even when we were young, and I think I met him first. Well, I know I met him in 1990, so we were like 19, 20 years old, and he always, like, that was really like sort of the apex of the Young Lions period, and we were all actually we played in a band the next year called the Jazz Futures 2 together.
The Jazz Futures 2.
Yeah, you know about this?
No.
Oh, come on, man. That was a flash in the pan, baby.
Was there a 3?
Burned out. No, that's what I'm saying. No, Jazz Futures 1 was 1991.
Who was that?
That was Christian McBride, Roy Hargrove, Benny Green, Carl Allen, Marlon Jordan, Mark Whitfield, I believe Tim Warfield.
Some young lions there.
Yeah, and I'm probably forgetting a couple others. I don't know. But that's the ones I can remember. That was jazz. I was asked to be in jazz. This is for another episode. Anyway, I was asked and then non-asked to be in Jazz
we got to hear
Futures
that
1.
story eventually,
But then they did the next year. It was supposed to be an annual thing, but it turns out like the whole Young Lions wearing suits at jazz festivals thing fizzled out quicker than they thought.
Interesting.
No, but the next year we did Jazz Futures 2, or as we called it, Jazz Futures TOO 2, the afterthought.
Right.
This was Nicholas Payton, Brian Blade, Chris Thomas, Ronald Westray on trombone, Herb Harris, who kind of faded off the scene, amazing tenor player, and just kind of did some great things, but then did some other things, I guess. And I'm probably forgetting somebody else. Oh, sorry. Maybe somebody else. Anyway.
Even you overlooked Jazz Futures too.
Exactly. I know. Yeah, we were like, I know. I'm like, wait, anyway. So no, that was everybody. Nicholas, because there's 3 horns. So that was, when Brian was very associated with this, the straight ahead stuff, like all of us. Yeah. And we were kind of like young and dogmatic and like,
you're learning music. Yeah, you're living in New Orleans.
Yeah, but Brian even then was like way more open than we were. I mean, he was already like talking about Joni Mitchell and stuff, and I was like, oh man, what? No, that's like, we're above that. And he was like, man, you got to check this out. And like Stevie Wonder, like we really bonded over Stevie Wonder too, because I had been listening to Stevie Wonder. But Brian was one of the first people that really got me thinking about Stevie Wonder, like within, like in just more of an inclusive way within, and not as a separate thing. He never really had these like separations,
It's amazing.
Yeah, and so it was just it was a really fun period. And then he also, so like the straight ahead thing was really his, kind of origins that a lot of people, I mean, people know it, but whatever. But also he's really one of the foremost New Orleans drummers. He's from Louisiana. He's from Shreveport, Louisiana. But he came to New Orleans and went to school and really is one of the great, I mean, you talk about the young middle-age-ish, Stanton Moore and Shannon Powell and, I mean, all the different great New Orleans. I mean, Brian is right there within that, even though he kind of left New Orleans. But in terms of like coming out of that style, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, let's get to listening to this. Okay. We have a 20-minute song here that has 2 million YouTube views. And I'm not sure how only Brian Blade could pull this off. But this is from a live performance from Brian Blade and the Fellowship Band, which is a lot of amazing musicians and some friends of the show here.
Chris Thomas on bass.
Yeah, name the Chris Thomas on bass.
Melvin Butler, and John Cowherd on the piano.
Yeah, amazing pianist John Cowherd. And so
this is from a workshop, actually.
Yeah. This is a 20-minute long song with many different parts, and I think we can probably find some cool highlights here. But this just, to me, it really highlights the kind of musician he is in a short amount of time here.
And right off the bat, this is gonna be a 4-hour episode if we analyze every 5 seconds like this. But this is the kind of nuanced, really mastery that Brian had. Even, I mean, this was maybe 10 years ago, whatever. But he's always had. And what makes it so fun to play with him. And this is what I was saying. Like I always think about how fun it is to play with Brian, and I almost forget about how fun it is to listen to him.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. But it's just that kind of inclusivity. Check out what he's playing with his right hand, and this is a great angle. On the ride cymbal, but then on his alternative ride, that's not really a crash, I don't think, but he's using his left hand to play along with the bass line. This is some advanced stuff. First of all, just that.
We're spending 2 minutes on the first note, Peter. Come on, man. We got to watch it.
I mean, the way he's playing that's a bit like, that's playing the drums like a musician, and I know we take that for granted, but it's an important thing. Like, you're setting the tone, the details.
for the saxophones as well.
His touch. I think that's the...
And for me, it's the playful spirit of everything. You can keep going. It's just watching him. It is every moment he's playful. He's not in his head,
Right.
or seemingly not in his head about what, how it's being perceived at all by anybody.
Yeah.
And it's
such a great combination of playfulness and very deep and centered playing at the same time, which is really, I think, exciting to people. And when it's kind of emanating from the drums, like this is very much, it always has been a band.
Yeah.
And I remember Brian talking about when he was going to form this band. Like he had a vision on this like years before they even started. I remember him talking in New Orleans. I remember right where we were on Britannia Street. And he's like, I want to put a band together that's like, he had an idea about it really being a co-op kind of band in a way that now we were like, of course, yeah, everybody does that. But like at that time in jazz, wasn't really, it was always just like, the Brian Blake Quartet or the whatever, the Ahmad Jamal Trio or whatever, even if it ended up being a kind of a co-op kind of thing. But I mean, he really had a vision for this, and the music was written in that way, the arrangements, everything.
beautiful.
And like Brian's playing. I mean, everybody sounds great on this, but we're talking about Brian, so that's fine. But the details, like he's both kind of intrusive and like a lot of space at the same time.
This is where dynamics helps big time. If you have a good sense of dynamics, you can play.
Yeah,
you can be playful with what's going on, and it doesn't get in the way. In fact, it can be inspirational and help to give your soloist different colors.
Yep,
it's a perfect example.
One thing I love about this, and they would often play like this, and a lot of the tunes are like this, like that to me in a wonderful way pulls it out of just typical jazz crap. Was that a solo? No,
it's just,
but it was improvised.
What I love about this is it's really nice to listen to.
Yeah,
like it sounds really good.
So different than most of the jazz that we hear around here.
Well, no, it is. It's a composition. It's a song with some structure that's beyond just head, which is, there's nothing wrong with that as a form for showing off, the spirit of the moment,
virtuosity
and individual virtuosity. But this is that plus.
Yeah.
And so there is still that to this. There are elements of that where they'll use that gear, but there's so many other gears to music like this that I really appreciate.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean,
is this jazz? We don't care.
Well, it's got 2 million views. It can't be.
It can't be. No, to me, like this is what we should be talking about. Not exclusively, of course, but when somebody says, what is jazz today? Okay, or what is jazz 10 years ago? I mean, in the history of jazz, that could still be today.
The Fellowship Band the Fellowship Band is a great example of what the music can be.
Yeah.
Cowherd. Let's check out the solo. Underrated John Cowherd, probably?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my favorites. He's from Louisville, Kentucky, but he's spent some time in New Orleans.
He's like your favorite pianist's favorite pianist kind of guy.
They spent a lot of time in Virtual Loyal.
playing on a piano that's like
I know.
missing ivory. It's obviously ancient.
I was gonna say, I was like, it's a little jacked. I'm sorry to make it sound, but then when you see it, it's even worse.
Yeah, you're like, wow,
he's doing an amazing.
You can tell how stiff that action is just by seeing that.
Oh, this is great. It's so free, so open. And then kind of just immediately, for a 20-minute tune, they've immediately gone somewhere already.
Yeah.
They're not saving it. And just bam, one chord. It's like spiritual open burnout. And then they've got these sections that pull things together with the unison, and then the divergent harmony with the two melodic lines. Okay, so one thing about, like you just saw Brian, I think I'm realizing what it is because I spent so much time like across the stage seeing this kind of a look on his face, you know? Like, check him out. And those of you listening on the pod now, just, you know, Brian's smiling, he's playing. What it is, I think what people love watching him play so much, you know, your GP, you know about the GP, right?
General public?
Yeah, the general population.
General population, yeah.
Like, so if you're in prison, the GP is out there in the world. Anyway, if you're in solitary confinement,
good to know.
So, like, it matches. It's not about us should the drummer smile or should they not, or the piano player, whatever. Nobody has to do anything. But Brian, like the way he looks when he plays, everything like from his arms, like he's got this. I always thought his technique was so great. I don't even know anything about specific drum technique, but just general musicianship in terms of technique and like even taking it to the piano in terms of the relaxed precision but strength. Yeah. That combination of strength and but being non-tense.
That's right.
He's very dialed into that, which is something I've always thought was really important. But the joy that he has and the way that he plays, it all matches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so that's what the key is. And I think when you hit that, and it's not that you have to always be smiling or not. I've seen Brian not smiling or whatever, but people are always like, oh my God, he seems so joyful. That's, of course, the music.
Yeah.
But it's the whole package when it matches and it's authentic.
There's
and
no layer of ego on top. Like he's not putting a smile on or conveying joy to try to, because that's what he should be doing.
Right.
Or that's what he thinks you'll like. That's just what he's so dialed into what's actually happening in the moment that's what's coming out. And people, like human beings we can't respond to anybody faking that.
Right.
Like we respond.
Can't fake the funk.
It's really hard to fake the funk on that. Like human beings can sniff out a fake or someone being phony very quickly.
And it doesn't mean everybody drummer has to smile as much as Brian. It's not about that. It's just
you can
that it
scowl
matches.
if it's like matching what you're feeling.
And when you sit and talk to Brian and hang with him, he's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing. When you get your authenticity dialed into your music, the way that he does, that's a very exciting thing. No matter what your persona, reflects out to the world.
Let's skip ahead a little bit towards the end. There's some good
the piano solo.
Yeah, the piano solo towards the end.
Solo number 3.
A little bit, maybe a little. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right there. Let's back it up a little bit. This is such a good part. And we'll put a link to this in the show notes. We encourage everybody to go check out. And
full disclosure, Adam said let's watch the whole thing, and then
I wanted to watch all 20 minutes.
He knew I was going to be talking over too much of it. Chris Thomas.
CT.
Okay, we got to just say a little about, so Brian Blade of course he sounds great with John Patitucci, a lot of different, Christian McBride.
There's something with those
Chick
two.
Corea, but Chris Thomas and Brian Blade, one of the greatest rhythm sections of all times of this music,
Truly.
And the hookup is just off the charts.
I'm sure John sees this video now with 2 million views and he's like, why did it have to be the one on this piano?
Right, I know.
But he makes it sound great.
Brian is so great too about it's very rarely like the obvious accent. but sometimes he will do it. Like
Yeah.
he'll set it up in a way where it's like not on. And Chris is great, Chris Thomas as well. So there's this great juxtaposition, almost like a syncopation with the way they resolve their phrases.
No, one of my favorite moments of my entire musical life that I saw was Wayne Shorter in concert at University of Missouri St. Louis here at the Two Hill, and it was with a string quartet of members of the St. Louis Symphony, and it was Wayne Shorter's ladder quartet with Patitucci and Danilo Perez and Brian Blade.
Yes.
And I think it was the first piece. It was like 8 minutes long or 10 minutes long. And it was just a slow burn on this, and
burner.
No, it was like like a very
Slow burner.
vibey. Wayne's writing is so ethereal and beautiful, and Brian Blade just picked. He just like let it simmer, doing all this like very subtle things, and then there's this one moment he like kicked his foot back and like gave a full-on Brian Blade crash. You know what I mean? Like the whole body crash or whatever. And just the whole audience, you could see just like faces lit up like fireworks, like some event happened. But I thought like, man, that is like such a flex to be able to just hold out for 8 minutes and just pick your spot in just the most unexpected but also satisfying time to do it. He's like a master of that.
Inclusivity. That's an example of that inclusivity to the story.
Yeah.
Because and I think that's the thing with like the drums, everybody in this type of a group or, any kind of whatever you want to call it, jazz setup or whatever the instrumentation is, has the opportunity to push and pull and to prod and to poke at that storyline, together. But the great drummers have that ability to really put the whole story on their back. And so when you get someone like a Brian Blade, and we can talk about a lot of other great drummers too, that have that kind of macro understanding.
Hutch is like that.
Hutch, for sure. And it's so exciting because they know that they have that power to really affect. It's like the piano. We know that we can like change the sound of the harmony in a way so abruptly. Yeah.
And if you do it too much, it's ineffective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, of course, a trumpet player can affect that too, but they've got to work a little bit harder.
They can do it dynamically.
Yeah.
Much like drums.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're going to link below to this.
Yeah, super
and
fun.
I'm sorry we didn't get to listen to the whole thing, but we can do it afterwards, and you guys can do it at your leisure. But highly recommend checking this out. It's a fantastic 20 minutes. It's like the quickest 20 minutes ever.
It really is. Yeah. And check out all of the Fellowship albums, Brian Blade and the Fellowship. They're all so good and such a good listen, for so many various reasons. We got to get a Fellowship record on the old listening sesh, Caleb.
That would be nice.
We do a Tuesday listening sesh for Open Studio members here.
Speaking of listening sesh, do you know about the Gentleman's Agreement?
What? No, tell me more.
Segue.
Sounds fancy.
Segue alert.
Wait. Tell me more.
Tell me. Oh, what was funny the other day? Remember when I said, "Give me when ChatGPT said to give you a jazzy riff"?
And I was like,
why?
I don't know.
Anyway, the Gentleman's Agreement has been extended due to inclusivity, as we're saying, to the Gentleman and the Ladies Agreement. We've looked at the stats here, and unfortunately, this podcast is consumed by 86.7% male. Did you know that?
Wow, there's that many women. I did not expect that.
We're going for at least 50% ladies, if that's possible. Dudes need not apply. No, of course, dudes are welcome. Everybody. But anyway, this is the
Be careful here, Peter.
Gentlemen's and Ladies Agreement. All this means is that we will provide you with a top-rated, top-quality podcast here for free. But it's actually not for free. You need to go right now and take action, which is this take action music? I like it.
I'm giving you a little something. You need
to go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Even if you're listening to this, it doesn't matter, because that's what a gentleman and a ladies agreement. That's what gentlemen and ladies do. They wear top hats, they wear ties, they wear fancy dresses, and they subscribe to us on YouTube. So go search for You'll Hear It. We have our own bespoke YouTube channel. And also participate in the comments. There's been some lively debate about recent episodes, so you can see all that.
There really has been some good stuff, especially about the ChatGPT.
Yeah. So leave a comment if you like, but please subscribe there because it just helps move things along. You can leave us a rating and review too. That's the extended Gentlemen's and Ladies Agreement if you want to do that. But that's a little more difficult. In fact, don't do that. It's too hard. You can't understand how to do it. You're not going to be able to.
A little challenge there.
Till next time.
You'll hear it. Like that setup chord there?
I'm in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, currently.
I'm in Indianapolis.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Andrew, hi.
Because I feel inspired to play something else from your playing.
Okay, that's great.
I think using the metronome is a great tool, but it's not the only tool.
All of the answers are really in the music.
What does it mean to live in a groove, be in a groove?
Until next time, happy practicing.